And so this friend of mine just said, hey, Steve, I want you to know something. If you were the person that was unfaithful and you had had 18 affairs and then the divorce had happened, I would still be sitting here with you caring about what you're going through. Oh, man. And then he said this, so you don't have to spend so much time trying to be the good guy. I needed to hear that. So there was a little confrontation there. I wouldn't recommend that for everybody, but it was really, really helpful because it followed this wonderful statement of love and acceptance and grace. He wasn't going anywhere. From New Life Ministries, this is Going Deeper with Stephen Arterburn. I'm Stephen Arterburn. And Going Deeper is all about taking the tough issues, the hard issues of life, looking a little bit deeper inside so that we can gain some insight into our lives. Hi there. Thanks for joining me for Going Deeper. And we're going through the alphabet, just picking a word for each letter that I think is really important for us to go deeper into. And, love calligraphy. This is kind of a crummy calligraphy, E, but it does the job. E stands for empathy. I think everybody understands sympathy. Empathy is something that we can develop. Essentially, sympathy, it could be called pity for somebody. Doesn't mean you're connected to them, doesn't mean that you really care about them, but showing sympathy can be the great ruler showing sympathy to the poor in the form of just pity. Now, sympathy is a good thing. You want to be sympathetic with people and kind to them. But empathy, well, that's a little different. When we have empathy, it occurs in a relationship where we either care about the other person or we don't. And if we care, then we're on the road to an empathetic connection. Empathy is an amazing form of caring about another person. When I have empathy for you, I care about you, and then here's the second concept, and I want to know what it is that you're going through. I truly have the time, and I'm going to take the time to the best of my ability, know what this situation is, what your life is like that's causing this kind of stress, pain, or struggle. Now, not just know it, but I want to understand it. I want to understand what you're going through, why it happened, how it happened, however I could understand it, and the depth of feeling and what feelings that you're experiencing. That's all about empathy. Well, guess what? You're never, ever going to be empathetic or to be therapeutically empathetic if you don't have time. The other thing is you're not going to do it if you don't care. But when you take the time to be empathetic and to have empathy for another person, you're really showing them by the time you're taking that you care, and then you're seeking to know and to understand. I had a wonderful thing happen to me the other day. A parent, after I preached at Northview Church, some parents came up to me and they said, our son, his name is Jordan. He was married and has kids, and his wife was unfaithful and she filed for divorce. And Jordan became suicidal, but before he did it, he went to the climbing gym where you go. And they said, you sat down with him, didn't know him, but you sat down with him and you talked to him for an hour. And he said it was the most healing conversation. And he did not kill himself, and they said he's just doing so great, and they thanked me. That sounds like I'm bragging, but I'm just telling you about what happened. So it was one of those rare moments where I had the time or took the time to try to know what this guy was going through, understand, care about it, and then in that time to comfort him as I did. So you never know the impact you're going to have on someone, a stranger, whatever, when you take the time to show empathy. And especially, of course, because you're a caring person and you want to help wherever you can. So we care, we want to know, understand, and we want to comfort. But here's something that I heard the other day that I thought was really, really powerful, and it's part of empathy. A man's wife had been involved with a pastor. Now, you could say she was unfaithful, but whenever somebody gets involved with a pastor, especially after the trauma she'd been through, well, you know, it's not just simple she was unfaithful. The pastor has power, control, manipulated her and threatened her. And finally, she was able to work through all the fear and to tell her husband what had been going on. And here's what he did. He said he didn't leave her, but he said, I am going to participate in the healing that's necessary from this. I just think that's fantastic. So when you know somebody and they're going through something, it's one thing to try to comfort them and care, but it's another thing to let them know, I'm going to participate with you. I know of a parent whose child, the daughter, said, I think I'm gay and I'm a lesbian, and I think that's the direction that I'll go the rest of my life. And rather than shame them or separate from them, this parent said, hey, listen, if you think I'm going to reject you or distance myself from you because of that, I'm not. I want to participate in your life as you go through this. Now, in talking to the parent, they wanted to participate because when things like this occur, often there's some kind of dilemma, some kind of reality experience that changes their mind about that. Now, I know it's not that simple in most cases, but the parent wanted to be there, to be available if that was the case. So participation in whatever the struggle is with people that you're close to really does make a huge difference. So if I am going to have empathy for you, I am willing to hear you, willing to listen to whatever you've been through. I'm also wanting to ask some things about that. And it might be something like, has it happened before? Or how badly do you hurt? Do you have more good days than bad days? Anything that you need might be another question. So I'm asking. Also, I want to allow them not just to say what they've been through, but to rant and go into rage over it and even yell and scream if they need to, which usually that doesn't happen. I want to be there for them, and I want them to know that I'm safe and that they can just be free with whatever they want. My previous wife was unfaithful to me, and she had an affair, and then she divorced me. And I was talking to a friend of mine, not close friend, but a guy I really liked and respected. And when all of this happened, I was so afraid that I wouldn't survive it and that people would hear about the affair and the marriage breaking up and they'd think it was me. And he said to me, after I went through this whole thing about she had done this and, I was kind of the victim. I was really into her being the bad person, me the good person, not stopping long enough to think that God was on her side. Because God's on everybody's side. No matter what we do, He wants to give us the mercy we need to come back and get back what we had with Him before. And so this friend of mine just said, hey, Steve, I want you to know something. If you were the person that was unfaithful and you had had 18 affairs and then the divorce had happened, I would still be sitting here with you caring about what you're going through. Oh, man. And then he said this, so you don't have to spend so much time trying to be the good guy. I needed to hear that. So there was a little confrontation there. I wouldn't recommend that for everybody, but it was really, really helpful. because it followed this wonderful statement of love and acceptance and grace. He wasn't going anywhere. So we need to allow people to say whatever they're going to say. We need to encourage them. It's always important to reflect back to them. So I'm hearing that this was the most painful thing you've done, or that you're doing better, whatever it is. We want to try to reflect back reality to them. And then whenever we're with somebody, don't assume you know what they're going through, or don't tell them I know how you feel, because you don't. And then please don't try to fix it with some piece of pseudo trite wisdom that's just going to make it worse. Empathy would lead you to understand they don't need to hear much from me. I just need to be here for them. Well, I care about you, and I hope that this has helped you, and I hope that it helps you have empathy for some people that are counting on you to care. Thanks for joining me for Going Deeper. Steve Arterburn here, and I'll see you next time. Thank you for joining me for Going Deeper. I hope something I've said may have helped just a little bit. If you have a question you'd like me to answer or comment, just email me at stevesocial@newlife.com. I'll see you next time.
If you want to support Going Deeper with Stephen Arterburn, be sure to subscribe so you never miss another episode. And if you know someone who would benefit from this episode, be sure to share it with them. See you on the next Going Deeper with Stephen Arterburn from New Life Ministries.